We're diving into an adventure that's close to our hearts and our local stream. We're on a mission to find one of the coolest and sometimes most misunderstood creatures out there. A crayfish. Now you might be thinking, what's so special about a crayfish? Or crawfish? Or crawdad? Or whatever else you want to call them? Well, stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why they're some of the most fascinating creatures in our waterways. But first, we've got to get there. It's a short hike, and the excitement is building.
Backyard biology, boys. We're going to be looking for some crayfish. 350 species of crayfish in North America, and we're going to try to find some. What?
We've got a good feeling about today. Who knows? We might even spot a trout along the way. Let's see what we can find.
And we're going crayfishing.
We've been coming to this spot all summer, and have spotted a few crayfish, but haven't caught any yet. But today's a new day, and every time we're here it feels like an entirely new adventure and a new opportunity. There's something about the anticipation, not knowing exactly what we'll find, that makes it exciting. Will the crayfish be hiding under the rocks today, or foraging in the open? Will we catch a glimpse of something unexpected, a fish or snake? It's that sense of mystery that keeps us coming back and living a life of adventure, exploration, and continual learning. Here we are, our little slice of crayfish heaven. But here's the thing, crayfish aren't just hanging out waiting for us to find them. They're master of disguise, blending in with the rocks and hiding in the shadows. So how do we catch a crayfish? That's what we're about to find out. Let's get underwater and see what we can't find. I'll give you a hint. Crayfish like to hide in places where they feel safe. So we'll start by checking under rocks and along the edges where the water's a bit calmer. Crayfish are quick when they want to be. They use their tails to propel themselves backwards in a flash, which can make catching them a bit tricky. But don't worry, we're just getting started. One of the coolest things about crayfish is that they're basically little armored tanks. Their exoskeletons are tough, which protects them from most smaller predators, but that armor also makes them a bit clumsy. They molt these exoskeletons multiple times throughout their life, and it's during these times that they're especially susceptible to predation. Almost had it. But that's the fun part, right? The thrill of the chase. Crayfish have been around for millions of years, surviving all sorts of changes in their environment, so they know a thing or two about hiding from a would-be predator like us. Gotcha! Look at this beauty.
Alright, we just got our first crayfish. Good spotting. You just saw him right there?
Yeah?
What was he doing?
He was just sitting right
Sitting there?
This is a signal crayfish, one of the most common species in California. You can tell it's a signal crayfish by the white patch on its claw. It's like a little signal light, hence the name. In most waters of California, there's no limit to take or season for crayfish, especially signal crayfish, so long as you catch them with your hands, hook and line, or with a small dip net. That's been our method of collection, and we're just observing them for educational purposes and the sheer fun of the hunt. Now, if you've ever been pinched by a crayfish, you know it's not exactly fun. The trick is to handle them gently from the back, just beyond the reach of their claws. That way, they can't pinch you, and you can get a good look at them without any battle scars. Crayfish play a huge role in our aquatic ecosystems, that is, fresh water. They're nature's recyclers, cleaning up dead organic matter and algae. But here in California, things are a bit more complicated. Most crayfish you find aren't actually native. They were introduced as food or bait long ago, and while they fit into our altered ecosystems pretty well, in more pristine waterways they can cause some problems, pushing out our native species and changing the way our streams and lakes function. Here's where it gets interesting. California actually has a few native crayfish species, like the Shasta crayfish, which unfortunately is endangered. The signal crayfish, like these, aren't native. They were introduced from the Pacific Northwest years ago, and while they become a big part of our waterways, providing food sources for many fish and wildlife, as well as for human consumption, they've also caused a few problems. For example, through their feeding they can suppress invertebrate populations, and even plant populations, in streams, lakes, and sloughs, potentially changing the nature of those ecosystems. And some of the species that dig burrows can cause havoc on farm fields or levees. And that's the thing about nature, it's all connected. Every creature, big or small, has its place, and potential benefit or impact to that ecology. And part of what makes exploring the outdoors so fun is figuring out those connections, seeing how everything fits together. Three in one go. Not bad for an afternoon's work.
That's yours, and I think that's mine. I think that's it, Daddy. Let's let them go. He wants to fight your camera, doesn't he? There's that fighting face. You see that?
Are you gonna race the beach?
The hunter.
Okay.
Well, after a day like that, there's no better way of celebrating success than for some good pizza. You know, catching crayfish is fun and all. It's a great way to connect with nature. But most importantly, it's an excuse to hang out with each other. And what better way to be in relationship with each other than eating pizza and living up the adventure with laughter and some time together. You learn something new every time, and you walk away with a smile on your face. So, what did we learn today? Crayfish might be small, but they're tough, adaptable, and they got a few tricks up their sleeves. They're an important part of our ecosystems, even if they're not always supposed to be there. And most importantly, we learned the thrill of the chase, the joy of discovery, and time spent together. It's what makes life and these small adventures worth it. Now, if you like this adventure, make sure not to miss this next one with an important lesson learned.